Hello, everyone. This is Eva from SocaMom.com, and I'm so glad you are joining us for the Soca Mom Summit. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a really, really long time. And when I started the blog, SocaMom.com, I talked about food a lot because that was one of the things that helped me connect with the culture. It was one of the things that made my house different from other people's homes. The house smelled different. The food we ate was different. My lunch was different from everybody else's lunch. But food was something that connected me to the culture, even though I lived in a place that I didn't live in a Brooklyn. I didn't live in New York. I lived in Aiken, South Carolina. Nobody was like me in Aiken, South Carolina. So when I went into my house, it smelled a certain way, and it usually was about curry. It was about, we have our peas and rice. You got to have corned beef when I don't know what that's about, but my blood pressure should be atrocious, but I don't know what that's about. So anyway, I have some experts here in the field of Caribbean food and feeding kids and what they loved as a kid. So we're going to talk about that and some of the strategies that you can use to make things that your kids that were born here will love and connect them to their culture. So we're going to start by having everyone introduce themselves. We'll start with Nika.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nika Nurse, and I'm the curator of Best Dressed Plate, which is a platform that I created celebrating Caribbean cuisine and chefs. My background is my dad is from Trinidad and Barbados, and my mother's from Jamaica. I used to live in Trinidad when I was younger until I was about 8 years old. So I do have a heavily Trinidadian influence in my cooking. However, my mom, she cooks a lot all the time. And my cousin also was kind of who inspired me to cooking more. And that's kind of what had me start the platform, just celebrating the food, showing that it's more than just street food.
Like, I never thought about street food that way. Like, that was just food. It was like sometimes you get food outside and it's the same food that your mom cooks in the house. So, right. She just don't feel like cooking that day, but you never know. Right. So MJ, tell us about yourself and your love of food.
I'm MJ. I am British born, but my family is from Jamaica. My parents are both Jamaican. I'm British born, so my children are first generation American on my side of the family. My husband his dad's family comes from St. Kitts and Nevis. And so we are a Caribbean household. As far as food is concerned, my mom was a caterer and she owned a nightclub in Brooklyn, New York. And if you know anything about the Brooklyn, New York nightclub scene for older people, it was a place where they would come and play dominoes. They had domino competitions and food. There was always food in those types of clubs, not just dancing. And so my mom would cook at our house and at her club massive meals for all of her friends. And of all her children, I'm the youngest, but I was the one that was always in the kitchen, learning and cooking with her. And through the years, I went to college and I got my master's degree, and then I turned back to food. So I actually went to study hospitality with a concentration in culinary arts. And now I have two small children. I have three children, a stepdaughter, and then I also have two that are 7 and almost 5 years old. And so my main goal is to pass on our family traditions as far as food is concerned to them by inviting them into the kitchen with me.
And Chef D, tell us about what draws you to food as a profession and teaching people what to do with it, because that's your thing.
Yeah. Yeah, hi. I'm Chef D from Simply Caribbean. Simply Caribbean is a food blog. It started as a food blog and then we transitioned it into a business. Simply Caribbean really started because of my kids. My kids, they would have a lot of their friends at home on the weekends, and I would always be cooking for 15, 20 kids every weekend. So I decided I'm going to start a blog. Maybe when they need something, go on the blog and make it yourself. And the blog became so popular that I transitioned it into a business. So I offer now online cooking classes. I used to offer the traditional cooking classes, but since my husband passed away, I sort of slowed that down. So I'm strictly doing online classes. We do private dinners and stuff like that. And I started cooking when I was about 7 years old from Trinidad. If anyone's from Trinidad, they know what Trinidadian parents do. They have you in the kitchen from the tender age of 4.
Yes.
They would build you a stool to stand on so you can reach the counter to cook. And so that's where my love of food started. So I'll be short in the introduction.
So this is a perfect transition to Alycia. So you know Chef D. Yeah, so you've taken some classes.
And you know, from her teachings of Bus Up, my sister can attest to it that her recipe was good. She taught me well. So
run to Google.
So tell us about yourself.
Okay, I'm Alycia Nicole of foodieengineer.com. My dad is from Antigua, and my mom is actually from the U.S. She's from Detroit, Michigan. So weird mix, but always had a presence of the Caribbean culture in our home. My dad wouldn't have it any other way. I keep my flag with me at all times. But so my love for cooking came from my mom. My parents had a gourmet club, and we would learn different dishes and from different cultures actually at that point. And then as I grew older and started, cooking on my own for myself, I just, got a more of a passion. And in 2015, I was on the Rachel Ray Show as a finalist for a tuition competition to go to culinary school. And like the first day we met Jacques Pepin, Chef Jacques Pepin, and in that moment I was like, if I win, lose, whatever, I'm doing this. So so I graduated last May from culinary school and am pursuing kind of that career transition because I'm foodie engineer. So I'm transitioning from engineer to, private chef, personal chef, and catering.
Very nice.
One of my favorite questions. So everybody here cooks, right?
Yes.
And you've cooked for kids before. Now, Alycia, I have heard you have a very famous little nephew.
Yeah.
He is like the star of the show. So everyone has little people that they have cooked for before. If you could put together a dish that they were used to, like an American dish they might get at school lunch or something like that, and do some sort of fusion thing with something from your own culture, what would you come up with? I will start with MJ.
Okay, so I guess traditionally macaroni is a very traditional American dish. But those of us from the Caribbean, we make a macaroni as well. And of course we season it. And I think that was one of the first things my American friends were like, oh, that's different. You put some heavy seasoning in it. So I would still keep like a macaroni. My kids love macaroni, and I would season it and cook it the Caribbean way, you would say. And then I would add to that, I have to bring in some oxtail. Now, my kids don't always eat oxtail, but they do like it. But, it's one of those things that, my daughter, sometimes she says she doesn't eat meat. And then other times if someone else is eating it, she'll eat it. So there would always be an oxtail on the plate, or it would be curry chicken. But she does love curry chicken. And she's learning. She's 7. She's in the kitchen learning how to cook as well. And then almost always there's some form of dumpling. We actually made dumpling this morning. I have some right here to show you her style of making dumplings. She's 7, so the dough was needed very too much. Let's put it that way. But she enjoyed them, and her brother said they were wonderful. So that made me happy. So our dish would be macaroni, oxtail or curry chicken, and a dumpling.
So I know everybody makes a different kind of dumpling. We're gonna come back to that.
Okay.
So, but listen, if it's good and heavy, you don't have to give us snacks.
Right.
for a while. So Chef D, what kind of fusion thing would you put together?
Well, something that I've put together already. I'll go with the same mac and cheese. I mean, we call it macaroni pie, but they call it what, baked mac and cheese. Well, my kids, most of my kids and stepkids are American born, and they love macaroni and cheese. But of course, I have to season it up, and they love it. And I pair that with collard greens, but I make collard greens the way I would make spinach in traditionally Caribbean way. I put like saltfish and onions and stuff like that in it. So macaroni and cheese and collard greens. They love it.
I have never considered doing anything with collard greens other than what Southern people do to collard
No, the collard greens with the saltfish and stuff is so good.
Oh, now you got me thinking.
I
brought my pen and pencil for Chef D.
Oh,
I can recognize everything.
Ooh, okay. So Nika, what would you put together to make kind of a Caribbean fusion with American? What would you put together?
So my kids they don't like macaroni. They like macaroni and cheese, but they don't really like so much cheese. Yeah, they're not really big onto cheese. So the one thing that I can say that they like that's American is the sausages, the Vienna sausages.
Okay.
So for breakfast.
Everybody's like,
yeah, so from an American standpoint, I don't really know that they cook it. I've never really heard Americans cook the Vienna sausages. They just pop it out.
No, it's out the
can.
They
eat it off the can.
Right, they eat it out the can. And that's just not the way that we do it. So so what I normally do is, saute some onions and some ketchup, preferably like the Trinidadian ketchup, because it's like a more, it has a sweetness. Yeah. So, saute the onions with ketchup, black pepper, and put those sausages in there and cook it up. My son, actually, I should have taken a picture. He made that for me for breakfast this morning.
Oh, nice. With the fried egg.
Yeah.
With fried bake.
You can't go wrong, sausage and ketchup with eggs. Listen, and they love it. They love it. They love it. They love it.
So
I hope you had a good fried bake.
A good fried bake.
Oh, my hands is not good with flour at all. That's why when Simply Caribbean said, "Oh yes," and Alicia's like, she busts up. I'm like, dumpling,
okay.
It was flour and meat. That's the Jamaican side. Like my mom, I love her to death, but those dumplings that she make, you can pelt it and. But
I make some really good Jamaican dumplings. It's nice and fluffy inside.
Yeah, I didn't grow up on that.
It's really good.
I grew up on some tough, hard.
Oh, my daughter's tough dumplings right here.
See? Oh,
She's
God.
7, but I used to make tough dumplings, so she's learning.
That is funny. So, Alycia, what would you put together in your fusion dish for kids?
So, for me, I like to kind of dress things up, but I know that also kids like macaroni, and so one of the things that I thought of for like my little friend is we have pepper pot in Antigua, and so kind of melding that with a pasta and having tortellini with that. Also, another thing that I've done is fried chicken, because my mom's family's from the South. So fried chicken, and also because I lost on Rachel Ray to fried chicken. So I was like, gotta
fix that up.
Yeah. My mom didn't fry a whole lot of food in the house. So anyway, so fried chicken, and I made like a glaze of a sauce of jerk seasoning. And poured that over. So it was like a sweet, spicy, because I feel like, when you add a little sweet to stuff, kids appreciate that.
They do.
I mean, it's kind of a gateway to sugar.
Right. As do grownups. We are also appreciative.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, I haven't even tried like a curry type of, flavoring on the fried chicken, but I'm going to try that also.
I put a little bit of curry when I fry fish. That's I don't know what that's about, but I have to have it. And the kids have somebody else's fried fish and they'd be like,
Something's missing.
something's not right. Because it doesn't taste like curry, really.
Yeah.
But there's just something back there that, you know, you put a little something to remind them where they came from. You got to get it in the blood.
Yes.
So growing up, what was your favorite thing? And do you think American kids today would like your favorite thing? I'll go back to Nika.
Oh, no.
So growing up, one of my favorite things that I used to like to eat was this thing called suck, or like a suck-a-bag.
Oh, yes.
It's really simple. Again, you know, I'm very simple, you know, and all it is a sandwich bag with juice that you put in the freezer, and then you just bite the end, and it is so refreshing, you know, and if you make like a really good one with like grapefruit and orange, you know, Kool-Aid when Kool-Aid was Kool-Aid, you know. So
She
like,
talking about that Kool-Aid that give you that good rash.
yes, that. So
Itching,
that
but
was
you
it.
happy.
That was it for me. The suck and the guinnep. Those are the two things that that's it. I love it. That was it for me.
So MJ, what was your favorite thing?
So one that I could say that my kids do love is porridge. So either cornmeal porridge or oats, cooked down the very Caribbean way with the sweet milk, of course.
Of course.
And that my kids love it. They ask for it at least 3 times a week, for sure. And I think American kids, I don't know why porridge has such a stigma in many areas. It's like, porridge? You eat porridge? I'm like, yeah.
3 little
You know,
pigs. 3 little pigs.
It's from
Not that
nursery
little
rhymes
packet,
and
you know, not that dry packet you buy and warm it up in the microwave. I mean, we cook porridge, like we let it simmer. And so I think that if more children were introduced to it that way, they would probably love it.
For sure.
So
They consider
Chef D,
porridge like for old people.
Yeah,
what?
that's true.
Yeah.
They think porridge is for old people.
Yep. My kids love
So
porridge.
we always thought it was for kids. Like that was what kids, I don't know. That and like Ovaltine, which was terrible, but-
My kids drink Ovaltine.
Or Milo.
Or
Milo.
Milo.
See,
Yeah.
I was like, is this like, it's like salty chocolate milk? Like it was, I couldn't
Yeah.
get into it.
Oh, Harlicks was there. Have you ever tasted Harlicks? I used to get
Yes,
that
I
to my
love
children when they were
it.
small.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love it.
Harlicks is good.
So
It's good.
cocoa tea is the thing that my kids are
Oh, yes.
addicted to.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
addicted to.
Yeah,
I
Went
love
to
the hot
Trinidad
chocolate.
and they
You know, the chocolate that
grated
you grate?
it. Yes,
Mhm.
did the whole thing and had
Mhm.
bake for breakfast. So they're looking at me like, oh, we're not doing cereal again.
Right.
That's over.
This is the life.
We're doing something else.
Good.
So Chef D, what is the thing that you loved as a kid that you think kids today
Oh my gosh,
might
it's not
like?
It's not just one, it's multiple.
Mhm.
Well, my favorite thing to eat as a kid, I love chow. Any type of chow, mango chow, pineapple, whatever we have on the island, I make chow out of it. I mean, everything. Cashew chow, pomerac chow, the chenet chow, everything I make chow. And tamarind balls. I love tamarind balls.
Yeah.
I would eat tamarind balls until my tongue would split in the middle.
Right.
That's how much I love
Yes.
eating the tamarind balls. And even the tamarind sauce with the pylori.
Yeah.
And then
Getting
there's
hungry.
there's
Right?
this other Indian dish that's called kachori. I don't know if you know it.
The dirt.
It's
no,
it's
that's
called
good.
kachori. It's made with ground split pea. You mix it up, season it up, and you fry it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's one of the best things. I love kachori. I mean, I still do. But tamarind ball and chow, those were my favorite things growing up.
Tamarind balls, my kids definitely eat that. They because it's like it's almost like a sweet tart, but
Yes.
giant.
And if you make it
Mostly
the right
sugar.
way with the right ingredients, they can't put it down.
Right.
Yeah.
So for them, it's like as long as it's not too spicy, they're good.
Right.
Because they don't
Right.
put spicy and sweet together like that.
Yeah.
They
Right.
either want pepper sauce spicy or not.
Everything by
They don't
itself.
really put those together. But Alycia, you have me thinking,
Yeah.
wait a minute. I might have to try some
Right?
jerk and some sweet. That might
Sweet.
be right.
Oh yeah.
So Chef D was talking about how early we get put in a kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my
Yes.
mom found out that my dad had me cooking for him and my brother. She used to go to work in the mornings early, and it would just be my dad and my brother home.
Mhm.
So she was home one day and was like, she saw me walk in. Y'all remember Bus Biscuits? They're like,
Yeah.
you know, it's a very American thing. But my dad was like, wait, what? I don't have to bake like, this is bread in a can. I'll do it. So, but I was too little to turn
To
it or
turn
put
it.
on the thing.
Oh, I know what you're
So-
talking about.
Yeah.
So I would walk in, you know, I was short already. So I'd walk in, have him open it, and then walk back out. And then walk up, ask my brother to turn the stove onto the right thing, and then come back out. And she says that she's watching this like, what in the world? I was like 4 or 5. She's like, I don't think she should be using an oven. Like, this is not a thing. But my dad's from Tobago, and he's like, she got to eat. She got to eat. She wants to do it.
Let her do it.
That's completely normal.
Mhm.
So how old were you guys when you started to get into the kitchen, or when it felt normal?
When it felt normal.
When I wanted the easy bake oven,
Ah,
and my mom was like, "What you need an easy bake oven for?
we got
You
it.
got an oven in the kitchen."
I wanted one too.
Me and my sister wanted, and I was like, and now I think like we wouldn't have enough between the two of us. That little cupcake that goes through the machine.
Mhm. It's
So
not enough.
Yeah, I'm happy that my mom decided not to get us that. But yeah, so easy bake oven days was when we wanted to get in the kitchen, and so the first thing we learned to make was snickerdoodles, because start with dessert, right?
Ah,
And then
okay.
you know, as we got a little more, you know, we understood what we were doing. Then it was like, okay, see if you could measure the ingredients for, you know, Ducana. See if you could measure the ingredients for the dough that makes the patties, you know.
And that looks really good today, by the way. I was
Oh, thank
like, I need to
I've
get
been eating it for 2 days and have enjoyed it.
Because I heard you say, and this is breakfast.
It is, whatever.
So Nika, how old were you when you got in the kitchen?
I was old, so
They didn't
my
make you go in
cooking.
there?
No. Listen, one time I think I may have been 13, and I made steak, and I put nutmeg in the steak. And it was the biggest joke. Like, I was so excited. I'm making dinner for everybody, Sunday dinner. And my aunt from Queens, Auntie Lola, she's Jamaican. She came. She cooks really, 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 really good. And my mother didn't catch it, but as soon as she ate it, she was like, Nika, you mean for Thomas say you put nutmeg in this steak? I was like,
like, yeah.
Secret ingredient.
you know, I was like, I don't know. I just threw everything in, and it was a joke. But she was like, you know, it actually didn't taste too bad. But I kind of was like, after that, I said, no, I'm not doing it anymore. So I never cooked again. But then when I went away to college, I was tired of eating like Roy Rogers and McDonald's. So I was like, I watched my mother cook, but I just never did it because, you know, she was very like, I'm in the kitchen, I'm doing what I got to do. You're going to slow me down. So it was more so just observing what she did and going by taste and by memory. And like away from school, the first thing that I made was curry chicken. And from that, you know, it was just kind of like calling my cousin, asking her, you know, how you make pilau. Like my cousin, she made the best pilau. Like it had the prettiest color ever. And it was just me just asking people, and really and truly it's the taste. Like if I know there's a restaurant that I really, really like, I would go to that restaurant and I would eat their oxtail or I would eat their curry goat and taste it and try to recreate it by tasting. You know, it's great to go on YouTube and follow some of these people, but I still feel it's so important for you to taste what it's supposed to taste like,
Right.
and then go and try to make it.
Mm.
So that's
Yes.
kind of, so when I was in my 20s, so I was old.
So MJ, when did you learn?
Well, I would say I was born in the kitchen. So my mom had a thing, right? She didn't want you to touch her pots or anything. Like even now, don't touch my pot. But I was the kid that was always like, "Mommy, can I help? Mommy, here's an onion. Mommy, can I cut this?" So I was always in the kitchen. But there's some memories I have. So I grew up in New York, but we would go to Jamaica every summer, and we would go down to the river and hang out with our friends. And we were young. I mean, 7 or 8 years old. Back then it was a free time. You could just go. We'd go to the market, Mr. Lucky's market, and get a pound of flour and a pound of sugar. And somebody would go pick a lime, and we would go to the river. You'd catch janga, which is like a shrimp, or you would buy some chicken back from Mr. Lucky, and we would cook that as kids. I mean, we were small. So we'd have bananas, we'd have dumpling, we'd have shrimp, and we'd have chicken back, and you'd either stew them or you'd curry it. And so there was never a time that I wasn't doing something with food, even as a child running around. Most kids go to visit Jamaica, they go to the beach and they sit and eat mangoes, and I'm over there at the river cooking food. So, I mean, I have so many memories. Even in college, everyone was like, "Are you cooking this Sunday?" I would make Sunday dinner in my dorm on the little hot plate that wasn't supposed to be in there. Just to help myself, you know?
So I'm going to ask you, Chef D, what was, the age that, well, we heard 4. Are we, is it a little earlier than 4, a little later than 4? Was 4 your earliest memory?
Maybe it was earlier than 4, but I have memories from about maybe 6.
Mm.
That's
that was
where all the
about how old
memories.
it was, yeah.
Yeah, because I have had older siblings, and we were, how it worked in our household. We would have to be in the kitchen while they were cooking, so that's how we learned. And maybe after a month, they would just put us in the kitchen. We had just have to go and do it by ourselves with no help, no adults. I remember the first time I made pilau. I didn't realize you had to burn the sugar for pilau. I honestly thought they used soy sauce. In those days, I think they call it in Trinidad, they call it a siao sauce or something like that. And that's what I used. I put 1 can. It wasn't getting dark enough, so I ended up with like 4 cans in the pilau. But it was so salty and tasteless. No one could eat it except my dad, because whatever I made, no matter how it came out, my dad would eat it. He never wanted me to feel bad, so he ate whatever I made. And then he put me aside. He said, "You have to burn the sugar." And then he showed me how to do it. And from that day, that's it. I mean, I make the perfect pilau now. That's it. That's what I was cooking. And I was probably about 7 when I made that pilau. Maybe 7. So I've been making pilau for a long time.
So this conversation has been a lot of fun. Like, I could see we all need to go to as soon as this is over, we got to go to a Caribbean store or something and go shopping, like on FaceTime or something. We got to do something. But this has been a lot of fun. I have one final question for you. If you had to tell a mom, she's just had a kid who's ready for real food, not just like canned or, mashed up food or whatever. They're ready for real food. And they want to introduce that kid to Caribbean culture. What would you say is the first food that they should have that would set their palate and be like, all right, this is it. They're not going to put up with nobody's blue box macaroni. They're not going to put up with nobody's hot dog. And, they're not going to put up with it. What food would you have them set their palate with?
I would start with a roti.
Ooh, that was in mine right now, but continue. I'm sorry. I'm so hungry. So, Nika, you said you would start with roti?
I would start with the boneless chicken roti only because you have Chipotle, right? So that is the easier thing to compare. Like, you know, when you bring them to there, it's like, oh, it's just like Chipotle. Let's build our own Chipotle, but it's roti. Yeah. Sure. So, and boneless too, because you don't, you know, you gotta take it easy.
Sure.
Right. And no slight pepper. Just
don't get them upset.
No pepper at all.
Ease them in.
Yeah, exactly. Ease them in. And you can, like, you know, the tamarind. Sometimes you can put like the tamarind sauce inside of it, give it a little bit of sweetness, and they would love it. You know, my kids love roti. They prefer bus up shut, but the roti still, you know, they like roti. I would start with the roti.
That sounds like a plan to me. I'd start with the roti, but that sounds like a plan to me. So MJ, what would you say is a good start?
So I'm going to say 2, and I'll tell you why. So a very standard starter would be stew chicken and rice and peas. And that's because you can make that without a lot of spice, but with excellent flavor. And rice and peas is standard in most Caribbean countries, right?
Yep.
And then the second one that I would like to say is the Jamaican national dish, which is ackee and saltfish. And the reason why I'm saying that one, and I put that with breadfruit, of course. The reason I'm saying it is because I find that a lot of children, mine included, all of a sudden, I don't eat fish. Oh, what's that smell? You know, and they turn up their nose, right? And I feel, sometimes I feel very offended by that. And I'm like, you cannot, I'm not having it.
I can't live this way.
So I feel like the younger you introduce the kids to things like that, like the saltfish or escabeche fish, right? You don't have to make it so spicy. Any kind of food, you know, outside of something they could just get in a little package is very important. So I'd add that dish as well.
So, Alycia, what would you do?
Beef patties for sure. And I mentioned that in my demo because kids like their own things. So you get your own little thing to hold in your hand. Obviously not so much spice, but beef patty, and it crumbles, you know, there's texture for it. So beef patties.
I like that idea. You're right about the own thing. Like they don't have to look and see whose is bigger than theirs and someone got a bigger piece than I did. Patty's a good idea. So Chef D, what would you do?
I will definitely go with the fried bake. Fried bake and the Vienna sausage and saltfish, because I used to do kids cooking classes, and I did some classes where we made fried bake. Was not much Caribbean kids were there, maybe 2 out of 18, and they all loved it. Everyone get to make their own individual fried bake. I mean, they loved it. Those kids loved the fried bake, and so I will go with fried bake and Vienna sausage and saltfish.
I like that. I like that. So I think this is a good time, since you talked about the kids cooking classes, to tell everybody what you do and where they can find you and how they can support your business. So we will start right back with you, Chef D.
Okay. Well, right now, because of, you know, all this COVID-19 stuff and everyone's at home, I'm doing a lot more cooking classes online, and it's you can find me on Instagram, Simply Caribbean. You see it's right there on the screen, Simply Caribbean 1, the number 1 at the end. And from there, if you click on my bio, you'll get all my information on my cooking classes. My online cooking classes are very, very, inexpensive. It's like I believe it's $10 or $15 per class. I also offer pre-recorded classes where I'll teach a series of classes on WhatsApp. So I offer maybe a 10-day series classes. We'll do like 40 recipes. I upload like 40. I upload like 4 classes a day. 4 classes a day. No, 4 recipes a day we offer, and for 10 days. And that's just about, I believe, $25. So it's very low cost. So anyone can afford it. And you get all that information on Instagram, Simply Caribbean 1. Just click on my bio, everything's there.
And definitely check out just watching her cook. It's pretty massive.
Yeah, and I do have some snippet of videos. I just started a YouTube channel of the same name, Simply Caribbean. So everything's there. And the food is really good, delicious. I give really good recipes.
Oh, it looks amazing.
Tested.
It looks like you can taste it through the phone.
Tested recipes. It tastes good too.
It looks
So the engineer
amazing.
could contest to that,
I'm
right?
telling you, absolutely. The pumpkin, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's good.
So we'll go to Alycia, Chef Alycia Nicole. How can we support you, and what are you up to?
So right now, with like she said, with everything going on right now, you can support me by checking out my blog, foodieengineer.com. I'll be putting more content up regularly, and also my YouTube channel, Foodie Engineer. I'll be putting more content up on there as well.
Great. So can you tell us just real quick? You did something really cool with, was it the United Nations?
Yes.
Oh yes, Nika put that together.
So okay, so
She was the leader.
So how
She
about
can
I
explain
let her
that
say
completely.
what happened? All right, so I'm going to go to her, and you tell us
That
what
was my
you
introduction to Best Dressed Plate.
I saw that.
Okay, so here we go. Now you tell us what you do and how you do it for people like Chef Alycia. Let us know.
So yeah, Best Dressed Plate, the platform, I created it on a whim, just showing pictures of Caribbean food being plated outside of being in a styrofoam or foil pan. And
But I have a question before you go on. Does it affect the taste at all to be on a real plate?
Yes,
it does affect the taste, but I feel that it affects just your whole aura when you're eating. You just feel like, you know, you sit up straight and you really take in all of the flavors, because now you're like, oh wow, you know, am I using the right fork? You know? So yeah, it's a cuisine that is fine.
Yes,
so,
you're right.
Yes.
You know, and that's really what I'm trying to do with the brand, is connecting these chefs who are of Caribbean descent, who they don't necessarily have to cook Caribbean food. It's just, you know, they are from the Caribbean, and the food world has changed tremendously from what it was, where it's all French fine dining. That's the only thing that's considered fine dining. You know, that day is over. The world has changed tremendously since that was that was a thing. And I feel that Caribbean food still hasn't really reached that plateau yet. So when you have chefs like, you know, Foodie Engineer that's doing amazing things, using her engineering mind to create different types of food, still utilizing the Caribbean technique, you know, this is what's going to put us on the map. And I try to host events that is in places that people respect, and will come in with the utmost respect and create an environment and an event that they will never experience again. And that's what I did at the UN. You know, the holidays is a big thing for us in the Caribbean. It's not about gift giving. It's about cleaning and spending time with your family members and good food that you don't normally eat all the time, you know? So that's what the UN event was about, just celebrating the holidays. We had Antigua, Trinidad, and Guyana. You know, even though Guyana is in Latin America, you know, we still kind of own them. Yeah.
We'll let them have it.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite people are Guyanese.
Mine too. You know, Bajan and Guyanese and Trini, you know, we all, you know, people don't understand us when we talk. So it is what it is, right?
So MJ, tell us what you're up to.
Okay, so there are two things. So the first thing is my mom and I, we do a curated spice and sauce business, and we try to source most of the ingredients from Jamaica. So one of the things we're working on is bringing it online, making it more mainstream this year. So look out for that. But the other thing is this. I am a gardener. And so some of the things that I grow in my garden are things we use in our sauce. And one of my main objectives is to teach children as well as adults how to grow their own food. And in this instance, this is a Jamaican Scotch bonnet pepper that I grew from seed. And I got the seeds out of a pepper that my uncle gave me from a Scotch bonnet pepper he grew from seeds he got from Jamaica. And so doing that and showing our children how we can basically be sustainable, especially in a time like this where you really start to think about where your food is coming from and can you have it. And so this summer I'm planting callaloo. Instead of, I do plant spinach, but I'm planting callaloo. I wasn't able to source seeds from Jamaica directly, but this is a very well-known seed company in the States. And so I'll be planting callaloo and then taking that and bringing it into the kitchen. So mostly I share my gardening content on my Instagram account, what MJ Love without the S. But I do have a separate Instagram account that I plan to put more of the content there as far as the learning how to actually grow the food and how to actually take it into the kitchen. So basically garden to table.
That's a great idea, because there's a lot of talk about sustainable, especially in the Caribbean, because so much food is imported.
Right,
and
right.
It doesn't need to be. I mean,
it doesn't.
You can make your own food. This has been a great discussion. Thank you so much for being here. I had a wonderful time. I hope that you all had a great time.
Absolutely.
And, you all are all connected somehow. It's wonderful. It's like there's a Caribbean food community that, I mean, it's tight, and I love it. I love it. So thank you again. And we are going to take our selfie, and then we're going to sign off. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. And we will see you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.